Hey guys, I just finished my run today and I'm sweating my balls off and it's hot out today. So I'm just in my front yard sweating. Hopefully this doesn't drip onto the camera, onto my phone. So I wanted to talk about, I'm going to start basing my talks on the posts that I post on my wall. So today's post was basically being aware of like what you label yourself. I've done it my whole life, and I think that almost everybody does it really. Where do I start? I introvert, socially anxious, even the obvious ones. I'm worthless. Even saying, hey, I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholism was my struggle, not who I am. And just things like that, like are a good one that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people use is, I'm lazy or I procrastinate. So you label yourself. A lot of people will label that so that they don't actually have to take the action. That is probably a wise action to take. It gets them out of doing things. And if there's something that you want to do, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be lazy about it. Back in the day, if my lifestyle looked lazy, but if I needed to get my drug of choice, I certainly was not lazy. I was the most workaholic person, the most active person you would ever meet in your life to get what I thought I needed. So how do we combat that then? Or how do we not live the life that we label ourselves, more, and even worse, somebody else has labeled us? So what might have you been conditioned to think about yourself from your parents, your teachers, your friends throughout life? Just start, pen to paper. I'm always the guy saying pen to paper. Start identifying when you notice it, just pay attention to it. And when you notice you start labeling yourself, change up the dialogue. So if you say, I'm lazy, let's just keep going with that one. Just say instead, write that down, first of all, because that's obviously something that you use. There's a really cool car driving by right now. I don't know anything about cars, but it looks like a really big old classic red Cadillac. And I'm probably completely wrong because I literally don't know anything about cars, but it's cool looking. Anyways, so instead of saying I am lazy, say I am with laziness. Or instead of saying I am angry, I am with anger. Or I am sad, I am with sadness. Things like that. I'm an introvert. Could be I struggle, or not even a struggle because I don't like that word either. Back in the day, my struggle was alcoholism. That's one that instead of saying I'm an alcoholic, I get it. So now let's get into a lot of people will say, oh, I'm like socially anxious. I struggle with that myself. So I'm glad I brought up the word. Good job bringing up that word struggle, Daryl. Yes, I'm talking about myself in a third person. I struggle with that too. The next step after you kind of identify these things is to now determine, is that creating struggle or is that creating stress? And because let's accept, I think a lot of people, the biggest addiction in today's society is being a victim or putting out to struggle and to think like somewhere false belief that the life is just easy and life should be easy and life shouldn't have pain and life shouldn't be kind of shitty feeling sometimes. Uncomfortable. That's a good word. Life shouldn't be uncomfortable. The biggest thing I learned in my sobriety and my recovery is that life is uncomfortable. My struggle comes from my suffering. Let's use that word, suffering, because that's what it felt like. It felt like if I didn't have alcohol or drugs, I was going to die. True story. I was convinced of it. Because of the suffering. I was suffering. And what I learned through spiritual practices, through just constant morning routines, through having the best supports in my life, is that to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So the situations are only uncomfortable because of my perspective. Now, I hope you guys are keeping up with me here, because there's a lot of value coming out of today's video, I'm telling you. Yes, I'm patting myself on my back. That's something I used to struggle with, and now I do it. But I do think this is super important. It's my thoughts and my feelings. So again, pen to paper. What am I feeling? Every morning when I was in rehab, I'd wake up. I had on my wall next to my bed, I had a feelings chart, like a very, not one with those happy faces and sad faces. I'm talking detailed. Maybe hundreds of feelings were identified there. And then on the table beside my bed, I would have my journal and a pen. And I'd wake up every morning, I'd turn that into a practice to identify and the feeling that I was feeling. So it wasn't just angry, sad, happy. It was very detailed, maybe embarrassed today or distraught. But the thing is when you go down that list, you will maybe have to go through it a couple times, but when it hits, it will be like a tuning fork through your body. You'll feel it and you'll be like, bingo, that's the one. That's what I'm feeling today. You write that down, and then you identify when I was using. This would absolutely just, most things would make me use, or now that I don't have the choice because I'm in rehab to use, what do I do now? What new action can I start to take? What action would I take if I don't? So what's the negative action that I might take? Or not negative, but unwise would be maybe to isolate, maybe not show up to group that day, maybe not talk about it. So my new actions are reach out to my supports, tell them what I'm doing, write it down, own it. Own it and sit in the uncomfortable feeling. And on top of that, what uncomfortable thoughts come with that? Well, I feel tired and anxious today. Well, okay, thought. Well, what? You're just overdo everything. You're a waste of space. You're like all these thoughts. I don't know. Thoughts come quick. Thoughts come nasty. Write them down so you can slow them down and actually kind of get perspective on it. You reach out to your supports. You talk to one person, 2 people, 3 people, 100 people to find a new perspective. Find a new perspective. Find a new acceptance. Find acceptance in that uncomfortable thought and feeling. Sit with it, and then come up with new actions. And I know this seems like a lot of work, but when you start getting on this train, you just automatically start to do it. You don't need the pen and paper anymore. You start to become familiar with some uncomfortable things. What causes suffering in the world and within ourselves is not accepting our feelings, our thoughts, and how we react to certain things. Start to accept your thoughts, your feelings. Accept that life is not always easy breezy and there's pillows down the sidewalk and I'm never going to fall and hurt my knee. You're going to do that, accept that, and then come up with actions with your supports, your friends, your family, the people who support you in life, and come up with new actions. And those new actions are probably going to be uncomfortable to do too, because if you're like me, my go-to was to just pick up alcohol and drugs. But like for some people, it's to, eat too much, sex, gambling, anything like that. I think I'm going to stop there. I think, Hey, thank you. I on Instagram, nobody uses the real name, so I don't know who people are. But I really appreciate all your support, guys. And I'm going to keep on doing this and keep going and reach out with any questions or advice that you have for anybody. And let's be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Have a great day, everybody. and do your homework. Let's start writing down thoughts, feelings, actions. Take care.